Joshua Parker here from healthharmonic.com, and today we're going to talk about silica as a nutritional supplement. And while I am going to talk about some of these silica products, which you can get from our website at healthharmonic.com, as I usually do, this is not just going to be a straight promotional video. I'm going to get into a bunch of the research. I've been digging deep into this rabbit hole lately. I've been really into silica as a supplement for a couple decades now, but also into mineral balancing. And so I'm going to get into a bunch of that as well. First off, why silica? Well, silica is the second most abundant mineral on the earth, and actually apparently the third most abundant mineral in humans. The way I look at it is it's a very simple molecule, just silicon and oxygen, and being that it's a simple molecule, it's basically a fundamental building block. And I'm going to get into some of the stuff about biological transmutation and the Curvron stuff. First off, the importance of silica really gets down to the production of collagen. It is required for collagen production, and it's also considered a catalyst for assimilation of at least 4 different minerals, including calcium, magnesium, which is considered the master mineral in the human body, probably most organisms, as well as iron and phosphorus. So basically, we really do need silica for normal metabolic processes and for building tissue, for building bone, for building connective tissue. And the interesting thing about silica is that we don't accumulate it so much. We don't really bioaccumulate so much silica. So that means that we really need to be getting it in our diet for consistently in order for our levels not to drop. So maybe that's why silica levels are known to drop as we age. And it's fairly well known that after the age of, and it varies among the individuals, but after the age of 30, maybe 40, silica levels tend to start to drop off. Interestingly, so does collagen level and hyaluronic acid levels. So now, does that mean these are downstream metabolites that require silica? Well, we're going to get into some of that today. To give you a little taste of that, I want to introduce the work of Louis Curvron. I ran into this research a couple decades ago, and it's a real eye-opening research. These are translations from French, and plus it's old writing. It's from the 40s and 50s is when he did most of this research. But so it's a little challenging read, but worth looking at, because basically what he was interested in is understanding how something like a chick egg, a fertilized egg from a chicken, can have a specific array of minerals in it, an assay of minerals in it. And then if you measure that assay and compare it to the assay of minerals in a hatched chick, it's not the same. So where do all these minerals come from? Considering they're not, it's not being fed anything after that. It's just getting heat. So there's going to be some energy involved in this transformation, but there is changes, which what he calls biological transmutation. This is considered kind of controversial these days. Interestingly, other transformations are not so controversial, but maybe they are. But the biological transmutation is considered by some like mainstream scientists to still not exist. But they can't explain some of these things, like this chicken egg phenomena, and there's many others. And what he identified is these pathways of biological transmutation, and silica is one of them. So basically these pathways are where basically a simple molecule like silica then is transmuted into other minerals. So this is not like the standard metabolites, but it's actually, you know, like silica changing into other minerals. And he identified very specific pathways of a number of minerals that are transmuted in this way. So really interesting research. I recommend you dig deeper into this. There's a number of different translations of his work that you can dig into, but like I said, Louis Kervran, Kervran. And this was actually the first silica that I ran into, was a Kervran formula, which is interestingly this product, and I personally, we don't sell this product. This was the first silica that I started taking early on in this kind of research that I went through, which is apparently a formula that was developed by Louis Kervran, which is a way of taking the silica extracted from horsetail, from spring harvested horsetail herb, and binding it to a bioflavonoid compound to try to make it more bioavailable. And I'm going to explain here in this video why that is actually so important, because most of these horsetail derived type of extracts, herbal extracts, are very low on the bioavailability side, which essentially means that products like this probably need to be taken in higher doses in order to get certain effects that might be desirable. Now, that's a good time for me to give the standard disclaimer. I am not a health professional. I'm just a self-educated, health and nutritional researcher. So this, and also, in addition to not being a health professional, I'm not your health professional. So, if you learn something from what I have to say, that's great. Maybe you can come away with it and dig into some of this research more yourself and learn even more. And if you choose to, you can visit healthharmonic.com and not purchase this product, but some of the other silica products that we do carry on the site. And I also want to, for a moment, discuss my research in megadosing, because I have made myself the guinea pig for helping out the community, so to speak, in terms of testing myself out on much higher doses of many different silica products. I have done this for many years, and I find that most of them, I've never had any adverse effects, knock on wood. But one of the adverse effects that you might want to know about, which has been associated with some products in terms of higher doses, is kidney stones. And that this is something that arguably has been eliminated from the products that we carry. And it has to do with a particular enzyme and the elimination of that enzyme, which from the product formulation, in order to prevent these kidney stone effects from building from taking higher doses. That being said, like I said, I've personally tested myself for extended periods of time on pretty much like 4x the normal dose. And I've found that it has helped me a lot, especially when I'm going through healing from a particular injury, or just trying to achieve, better skin and bones and structural support in my age that I'm not going to say what I am, but I tend to be mistaken for younger than my actual chronological age. So that being said, let's get into some of the more deeper details about silica. So before we get too into the weeds on silica metabolism and all the science and stuff, I do want to let you know that I am also going to cover in this video the difference between some of these products, because it's kind of interesting and there's been some confusion on this. This is kind of important to wait on explaining, because I'm going to explain the ingredients in these products and how they were developed, and that's going to be an important thing to understand about the differentiation of these products. So we will get into that, I promise. But first, I want to bring up this study. This is from actually 2009. This was from the British Journal of Nutrition, and it's the comparative absorption of silicon from different foods and food supplements. And this is an important study because it looked at a number of supplements and a number of foods and compared basically the bioavailability using both urine composition, and because silica is known to, since it doesn't really bioaccumulate, the testing of it coming out in the urine is one of the markers of bioavailability. The other way they tested was with blood serum. So what they determined was and they tested a number of foods and a few different supplements, and what they determined was that the non-alcoholic beer and the green beans, but not and this is another interesting aside, not the ripe bananas, which do have a fairly decent level of silica in them, but not bioavailable according to this study. And again, all these clinical or scientific studies, like, there's always limitations on what can be gleaned from these studies. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind when looking at any of these studies. But interestingly, non-alcoholic beer was a good source of bioavailable silica, but the best source from this study was an ingredient called MMST, monomethyl silinetriol, and that is an ingredient that was discovered or stabilized and developed by a Frenchman named Monsieur Loic Rebault. And I'm probably pretty bad at pronouncing French names, so bear with me on that. But this MMST is an interesting stabilized molecule, which is essentially orthosilicic acid. Now, orthosilicic acid is known to be the biologically active form of silica. But the interesting thing is that the monomeric form of orthosilicic acid is the MMST. So this is a simple molecule which has one molecule of the orthosilicic acid essentially in the chain, whereas these orthosilicic acid, these natural compounds of orthosilicic acid tend to polymerize. So this polymerization is essentially where they group up in chains or polymers of many molecules into one molecule, into one long chain. But the monomeric form of orthosilicic acid is essentially MMST, and that was known to be in this study and in others as well, it's known to be a highly bioavailable form of orthosilicic acid or organic silica. This was known from this study to be 10 times more bioavailable than another stabilized monomeric, semi-monomeric form of orthosilicic acid, which was stabilized by choline. So these various other ingredients, other supplements or nutritional components are added to these orthosilicic acid compounds in order to try to stabilize as much of the monomeric form as possible in order to increase bioavailability. Now, in this study, the choline stabilized orthosilicic acid was also tested, and the MMST was about 3.75 times more bioavailable than that. So that was a big improvement, actually. 3.75 that's not minimal. That's a drastic improvement, but it was not the end point for the discoverer of MMST, and that's where some of these new product formulations have come about since that time. So that's kind of an introduction to the forms of silica, where you can get it in some foods. And interestingly, I mean, it's not like they were using a high quality green bean. They were literally just taking frozen green beans and I think even preparing them in a microwave. I might be wrong. They might have steamed them, but it was. I remember when I read that, I was like, wow, it's like if you want some organic, if you get some organic green beans and steam them, you're probably going to get much more organic silica than they got from those low quality frozen green beans. Anyway, that's an aside, but let's dig a little deeper into why you might want to increase your levels of silica. Silica activates the prolyl hydroxidase enzyme, which is an enzyme, and this is a very important enzyme because it is required for collagen synthesis. It's known to increase collagen production by 19% by some of the studies that have been done with bioavailable silica. This also affects the elastin levels and the quality and strength of the elastin. So both we're getting increased production of elastin and collagen, as well as more integrity and higher quality to those fibers. It's essentially improving the production of those fibroblasts, which are producing these vital compounds for regenerative processes in the skin specifically. So with that, it's known for its decreasing of wrinkles and UV spots in the skin, and it's also known for improving hydration in the skin. So one of the ways that it's known to do this is because these are all effects of the GAGs and the hyaluronic acid in the cells. So hyaluronic acid is a very important compound, which holds like something like 1,000 times its weight in water. So it holds that water in the cells, and we need silica in order to produce it. So is it really that much of a surprise that mainstream doctors tell you that HA, hyaluronic acid levels, drop once you reach like 30 or 40, and same with collagen? It's like, okay, maybe this is related to minerals, and balancing minerals. Of course, that's a big factor as well, as we'll get into with calcium. So yeah, this is really important for skin. Really, really important for skin. So where else do we find collagen in the body? Well, I mean, it's pretty much everywhere in our connective tissue, but ligaments and tendons, they're composed 90% of collagen. So of course we need more silica in order to heal and maintain the health of healthy ligaments and tendons. So that's really important. So where else do we find collagen? Well, it's pretty much everywhere in our connective tissue, but ligaments and tendons are known to be 90% collagen. So we need more silica in order to be able to regenerate and keep healthy ligaments and tendons. But also cartilage. Cartilage is 50% silica. Cartilage is 50% collagen. By weight, by dry weight anyway, they say 50% collagen. So clearly we need silica in order to in order to have healthy cartilage and potentially be able to regenerate the cartilage when we need to, from sports injuries or what have you. I know a lot of doctors think that's not possible. I personally believe that I have done this. I had some knee injuries, and it's a long story which I'm not going to get into, but I do believe that I have regenerated cartilage in both of my knees, really, but only one of which I had surgery in, and when I favored the other, ended up kind of destroying it, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, the other thing is for bone health. Now, bone health, it's really important, and this gets into the catalytic properties of silica in metabolic process. So silica is really important for balancing the calcium levels, and I personally don't take calcium supplements, but they have been overprescribed, promoted, I should say. They've been over-promoted, arguably. It's partly because they're just the cheapest supplement to manufacture. It's like basically selling chalk for an elevated price. So there's a lot of promotion of calcium, like, oh, you need more calcium for strong bones and all this stuff. Well, but did you know that if you supplement calcium and not supplement silica, that it actually leads to potential problems, and there can actually be leaching in the bones, because when we're low in silica, then we actually can tend to leach out of the bones and deplete it from the bones, whereas there's a balance between the calcium and silica, So when we take silica, then we can absorb the calcium that's typically in most of our diets anyway. Even if we don't supplement with it, it's going to be in various green vegetables and things like that. So then that makes these nutrients that are there all of a sudden bioavailable, and in order to be able to create strong bones. And this is why silica supplementation is known for its characteristics in being able to give you stronger bones, potentially stronger bones, from being able to uptake that calcium, or potentially getting into some of the biological transmutation stuff. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. I know there's a lot of people into mega dosing on certain silica supplements in order to increase the density of bones as a osteoporosis kind of remedy of sorts. So that's something you might read about online. I actually wrote about that like a decade ago. Whoa! That was the turkey just flying up onto the roof. Speaking of bone health and silica, the protocol that I use in the case of a bone break is to do a pretty heavy dosing of silica, at least for the first 15 days. And this is an important time in the bone healing process where silica can play a really important role in suturing those bones back together. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget that little detail. Let's talk about silica and aluminum detox, because silica binds with aluminum and helps carry it out of the body very quickly and efficiently. And considering aluminum is really one of the most abundant metals on the planet, and in recent years and decades, it's been aerosolized and sprayed from airplanes and placed in needles for various supposed reasons. It is a very important thing to detox right now, and it's one that obviously is affecting brain function. When we'll get into Alzheimer's disease and things like that. But this is a really important thing when it comes to silica, because this is an efficient way of carrying it out of the body, and it's something that we need to do all the time now because it's so prevalent in aerosol form now that we're just constantly exposed to it. So Dr. Chris Exley in the UK has done a bunch of research. He's a renowned expert in Alzheimer's disease, and he researched using silica as a nutritional supplement for detoxing aluminum, and found that in a rather short period of time he was able to detox 70% of the aluminum levels in his patients that he tested. So that's pretty remarkable. But it's not too surprising that these things are happening. But how does this work with, why is silica helping so much for certain things like these neurological conditions? Well, really what it comes down to is amyloid plaques seem to be clogging up the neuron pathways and blocking the synapses from being able to fire efficiently. And what the silica does is it cleans out those amyloid plaques and seems to get rid of them in order for the conductivity in those nerve synapses to be more conductive in order to for things to just fire more more smoothly, and for, you know, that cognitive function potentially to come back. I'm kind of known for some of the other work that I do in electromagnetic stuff, and I think personally, I think minerals are really important as another component to the picture. So if we're just using the electromagnetic stuff and not paying attention to the minerals, then I believe we can miss some of the best potentials that are there with some of the electromagnetic tools. This nerve synapse thing is just kind of an example of that. You know, it's like we need to clean those neurons and make sure they can have that efficient firing and the conductivity that they need. And apparently in order to do that these days, we need supplemental silica. So I believe there's a lot of other minerals as well that are super important, and I've done other videos and will continue to do other videos on this stuff. So if you like what you're learning here, go ahead and click like. It helps the algorithm, and go ahead and share it with your friends and all that. That helps too. And subscribe, and then you'll get notified when I post other videos, which I have a number in the queue that are going to be added to this channel, which had been a little bit stagnant for the last couple years, but we're getting back into uploading to YouTube in certain ways again, you know, carefully. But yeah, so that's the aluminum detox thing. Really important in terms of silica. So pretty much everyone needs that. So there's no real ifs about aluminum detox. We all need to detox aluminum. Like I mentioned, since the discovery of orthosilicic acid as the bioactive form of silica, there's been a lot of interest in understanding these monomeric forms, the known forms that were more bioavailable and could penetrate the intestinal barrier, where the polymerized forms of the orthosilicic acid were just too large of a molecule really to be able to penetrate that intestinal barrier. And so this has been of interest for a long time. And like I mentioned before, Monsieur Loic Ribot, he discovered in the early 90s a method of using quartz crystals and breaking them down in a I believe it was a fermentation method, which allowed him to attain a stable monomeric form of organic silica, which is essentially, it's a form of orthosilicic acid, but it's a monomeric form that's stable, that doesn't polymerize into larger molecules. So it stays stable in this form, and that was MMST. That's the monomethyl silonitrile. And so that is what I mentioned was in that food study that was done, and they just discovered that it was much more bioavailable. That and other studies have determined it to be much more bioavailable than other forms of orthosilicic acid, such as the choline stabilized, and there's other nutrients they've added in order to try to stabilize these monomeric forms in larger numbers in particular solution. So the MMST, though, the original MMST product, like I said, it was derived from quartz. So it was essentially a formula that was derived strictly from the quartz mineral, but it was determined to be highly bioavailable. But what's been done since then is he actually kept the research going and he developed this one, which is called the Siliplant, the G5 Siliplant. And this is essentially the same molecule, the MMST, but derived from horsetail, the silica-rich herb, which is then broken down and purified into the MMST, and then recombined with an extract of horsetail and rosemary in order to increase the bioavailability of it beyond what just MMST has. So that's the G5 Siliplant, and this is the product that I have taken the most of. I'm a big fan of this product, and so are a lot of you out there. I know, because I know a lot more people seem to gravitate towards that than this product, which is called the Living Silica plant-based formula, which interestingly is exactly the same formula as this. It's just essentially a different name. It even says that right on the bottle. It says, G5 Siliplant, new look, same formula. And it's interesting because when they first put this out, there was two different potencies of this product. There was a half strength product. I don't think that's available anymore. But it was the G5 still. It just wasn't as potent. It was like 12.5 milligrams per dose instead of 22.5. So it was about half the potency. But these are both the exact same potency, exact same formula, just a different name. So that's created a lot of confusion out there. And we try to carry both of them, but sometimes we run out of one label and have to substitute the other. That has happened. So just keep that in mind. These are both the same product, a phenomenal product. And I encourage you, if you haven't checked it out, check it out at healthharmonic.com. Or click through and once you get to healthharmonic.com, you can just click the nutritional supplements tab on the top, and that'll take you where you can see all of our nutritional supplements, and you'll see these products there. Or you can click the link in the description on this video, and that'll take you right to these products as well. You will see some MMST stabilized, a powdered encapsulated product that's actually MMST from the quartz. It's the original MMST stabilized in an acacia gum, and while that one didn't perform in the study quite as well as these ones did, it still performed quite well. So it's impressive as well, and we carry that sometimes as well. But we focus on the liquid formulas. I'm just a bigger fan of liquid nutritionals when I can, especially liquid minerals, which I tend to take on an empty stomach. I think that's really important for better assimilation through the gut, like I've been talking about here. When we have an empty stomach, there's less in the way of absorbing these readily absorbed monomeric silica compounds. So that's an important aside as well. That's what I wanted to cover on this video. I will be doing more videos on silica specifically because I'm so into this, and this is also going to be one of a series of videos that I'm doing on mineral balancing. And silica, I believe, is a really important component to all the mineral balancing because it is such a fundamental building block. Which leads me to one final thing that I believe one of the most foundational things about mineral balancing that should be taken into account is that when we're trying to increase these like single nutrients, single minerals like silica, I think it's really important to have a base foundation of like the 70 plus trace minerals, and to be getting that from one of the sources, wherever you're getting it from, get it from somewhere, and that way your body doesn't get thrown off by increasing a particular thing like silica. One of the products that we carry in that regard is a marine phytoplankton product, which has a bioavailable full array of all these trace minerals and enzymes and fatty acids. So it's a really that's another important one. But that's a video for another day, and I already have some videos coming up on that as well. So keep an eye out on this channel for other videos about the marine phytoplankton and some of the other minerals, and of course our electromagnetic stuff as well. So thank you again for watching this video. Thanks for spending the time with me. I hope you got something out of it. And hit me up on the website on healthharmonic.com if you have any questions about any of this stuff. Look forward to seeing you there and seeing you next time.